So first of all, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having this. Is obviously my first time. I think you're so good to start this community so early on. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't really have any motivation behind it. I really enjoy talking to people. I talk to people in the community on a regular basis, but it's usually one-on-one. And actually the whole idea started with Brian down in the audience there, Brian Berkowitz. We were talking about, we have these weekly calls where we talk. Well, it seems like we talk like every other day or so, but we're always talking about business. And hey, Art's in. Welcome, Art.
Yeah.
Congratulations. He finally made it. But anyway, we have these regular chats where we talk about business and all this stuff. And, just sometimes we feel like it'd be cool if other people could chime in on those conversations. So we were like, let's just start doing this on Clubhouse. And, I'll be the first to admit I'm kind of addicted to it. I love talking to people and asking people questions and learning. So, so that's pretty much it. And I know you signed up like a week or so ago. But this is your first time actually. Yeah, this is your first time being part of a chat.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, we're going to get started here in just a second. I'm just waiting for allow some other people to come in. Right now we have 56 people in so far. That's pretty good. Everybody's excited to hear from you.
Yeah. What made you want to do this on Clubhouse? Because I was thinking of actually doing interviews as well, more on like my own Instagram, like a live Instagram interview, but you never really considered that.
Yeah. Have I considered that?
Yeah, like the way you do these.
I was considering that. And I probably will. The truth is I just haven't felt like being on video lately. So audio is just, audio is just a good alternative to that. So, but I know so let's get started there. So you've been interviewing a lot of people through Shifter. You were interviewing people with your own account for a while there. Let's kind of just start there and then we'll backtrack in a minute back to like how you got started and everything. So, I think a lot of people came to know you originally through some of the videos you were posting, and then quickly after you started interviewing people. So you were interviewing some, some female photographers. You had interviewed Adam Taylor. What was your drive with the interviews? Let's start there, and then we'll backtrack to where you came from and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been doing interviews in general for, maybe like 10 years or 8 to 10 years. I used to interview for like a fashion magazine, like digital articles, and then transcribed it. And then 3 years ago, I have a music YouTube channel where I interviewed a lot of producers or artists and like behind the scenes record label managers it just comes pretty naturally to me. I've always been interviewing in whatever medium I'm working in at the moment. Like before it was fashion photography and I was interviewing a lot of people with that, and then after a few years I was into music, so I was interviewing a lot of musicians, and then now it seems like it just goes with the phases of my life.
How did you get into that in the first place? The whole interviewing and working with, magazines and music and everything.
Because I started photography 10 years ago, and then for a lot of the editorials you need some sort of copy to go with it, and at the beginning it was just like a paragraph about the shoot, but then the more I did, I'm like, I want to have more of a backstory to this photo set, and then just started interviewing. I even photographed some like Olympic athletes and stuff, and of course if I were photographing some Olympic athletes, it's a waste not to interview them because they have such an interesting story. So it just kind of was more of that, just explaining more of the person and everything and getting to know them. And it's curious for me as well, like how common would it be to interview like Olympic athlete? Like super uncommon. So I was just taking the opportunity myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did you even, just backtracking a little further, how did you get started in photography? Like what led you down those paths? I mean, I'm not going to ask you your age, but you seem relatively young and you've accomplished quite a bit in that short period of time. So how did you get started in that?
Yeah, I mean, I was like in high school, so I think it was just a trend. Like a lot of people started picking up cameras and just doing it for fun. I guess a lot of people here in the chat also maybe can understand, like, you know, in high school, everyone, like, you get a DSLR and you start playing with it. And then I guess I just took it way more seriously. And I guess I'm also a competitive person. So I'm like, okay, let me just actually improve and not just, you know, take pictures of my friends. Even in high school, I was like contacting some fashion model agencies, photographing them, working with wardrobe stylists, makeup artists. So yeah, I was actively trying to improve from the onset.
And
it was just because it was trendy, I guess, at that point.
And you're originally from Hong Kong. How long have you been in the States?
I went here for college, so I guess now it's been I guess maybe now it's been 9 years. Okay. It sounds like a lot now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So you were photographing while you were still in Hong Kong, and you went to high school there?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. And then so when I was in college, I went to college in Boston, and I was shooting there as well. Yeah.
Interesting. And was that primarily music or the editorial that you first got started in then?
Yeah, it was mostly music. I guess was only in the past 5 years that I started photographing musicians. But yeah, at the beginning it was more fashion. Got it. Or lifestyle. I was shooting for some like athleisure brands or a lot of lifestyle.
Yeah. And what was were you using Instagram as like your primary platform that you were driving work with, or like how are you? I know you said you were reaching out to agencies and whatnot, but like how are you primarily driving all this business at such a young age and during college?
It's interesting because I think back then, especially in Hong Kong, Instagram wasn't a thing. It was really word of mouth, maybe because of Hong Kong's size, that there aren't like that many photographers. But yeah, it wasn't from social media. I think it was mostly from word of mouth.
Yeah. Okay. I guess
also, like, I was like in the kind of the expat kind of community, and like that community is kind of small. So like if they knew that you're a photographer, then your word gets around. Yeah.
Explain that a little bit. What do you mean by the expat community? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, in Hong Kong, because it was a British colony before, there's just a ton of primarily British expats, but also like from the States or a lot of Australians that live there, and it's kind of a bubble. Like they don't really integrate much with the local people because of a lot of them don't learn Cantonese and stuff. So they're pretty isolated. And I went to a British international school, so I was kind of in that bubble. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, okay, let's fast forward. So high school, you went to college in Boston. How did you end up in LA, or at least wherever you're in LA area, or?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the path between Boston and LA? And then we'll lead up to interiors and architecture.
Yeah. I think I visited once because my cousin lived here and I really liked it. Obviously the weather. And then I just feel like the creative, entrepreneurial, like people here are keen to collab. Coming from Hong Kong where collaborations just aren't really a thing. And then Boston, I don't know. I just knew that I wouldn't. And I also like lived a bit in New York, and actually like my dad's from New York, so like half of my family's there. But I just felt like I just didn't see myself living in New York, and LA made sense. Plus it's closer to home, Hong Kong. Yeah. So just everything made sense. Like rent is cheaper than New York, and photography, I think LA is better for photography. And then back then I was doing a lot of musician interviews and all the musicians lived here. So like everything kind of made sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to put a timeline, and so you're in your early 20s at this time. I mean, that's pretty bold, not bold. I mean, I guess it is bold. I mean, you're taking a big risk being, a young female moving to LA on your own, starting off in an industry that's a lot of photographers would, would love, they'd do anything to shoot for celebrities and, just the types of stuff that you were doing. So I really admire that about people like you, that you, like you're just self-starters and you have a goal in mind and you just go for it. And you have a really high risk tolerance. Am I right in saying that?
Kind of, yeah. After I graduated, went back home for a year and I worked for a hypebeast. I don't know if people here know of hypebeast, but it's kind of a streetwear site, but it's pretty big. Like it's on the stock exchange for some reason. But with that job, I was able to move here, and then that's how I think if I just didn't have that job, it would be a bigger jump. But I had that, and I was able to work from home. Granted, the time zones were so messed up because sometimes they would call me at 1 a.m. and I would have to join the group meetings, but I guess I got used to it over time. But that kind of like gave me a padding to do what I want, and especially because my work schedule was at night, that I had the whole day to do shoots or interviews back then. Yeah.
Well, you definitely kept yourself busy, and then I guess it was the last year. I don't know specifically when you started with interiors and architecture and real estate, but before you even actually got started, what do you remember? Can you like pinpoint the time when you first started even considering it? Like what kind of led you down the path that you're on right now?
I always watch a lot of Nowness videos. I think that the videos kind of like made me think, oh, I actually want to shoot this, like the Nowness stuff or interiors and architecture. I've seen it like here and there, but I never really like focused on it. But I guess like once I was like, maybe I can do some interesting videos. Oh, I've been shooting for 10 years. I might as well shoot as well. So I think this was around, one of my first videos was around November, 2019.
So I've deceived people. It's been a little more than a year.
Well, no, you're actually right, because I had like a 5-month hiatus where I like wasn't sure if I want to do it. So that video was just kind of like to test my interest. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, no, like formally I was looking at my finances or whatever, and I like got my first job in May. So
I see.
Or was it yeah, let me check for a sec.
Yeah, you're
I can
fine.
scroll. Okay, my first job was May 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
right.
Yeah, so less than a year, and that's in the in the middle of the pandemic. You're starting kind of from scratch, and you kind of made, I don't know, you made a name for yourself pretty quickly, starting I think more in the real estate photography community, and now you're kind of more spread across interiors and architecture, and we'll get there. We're taking our time, but in terms of when I first noticed you, I can't remember if you had posted on one of the real estate video groups on Facebook, but that video, I can't even remember which home it was, but the video you posted, it was, I think it was a celebrity's home, but the first thing that I noticed was, and I talk about this a lot, but the real estate videos that I was seeing were like these high energy, bro energy, like EDM, like speed ramp heaven type videos. And they're cool looking and they have their place, but oftentimes they were mismatched. Like they didn't really match them. Like, you'd see like a cabin in the woods with EDM music. Like doesn't make any sense.
So,
yeah. It was like everybody was kind of doing this by default thing, the way they thought real estate videos should look like. And around the same time I was I had come across the work of Nick Swartzendruber, and I had helped him film a course. And what I was really gravitating towards about his work was that it was, it just felt more organic, very much slower paced, wasn't really relying on fads, like these little fads that were coming in and out with real estate video. And when I first saw your work, it reminded me a lot of his. And the only reason I bring his up is because that was the first time I was actually inspired by real estate video or architecture video. And then I kind of got used to seeing his and kind of got, it's still good. But then yours came along probably like 5 or 6 months after I noticed his, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is refreshing as well. So it really stood out. And I think a lot of other people felt the same, that you were doing something different. You were kind of doing it your own way. You weren't really, didn't seem like you were influenced by the other types of video that people were making. I know I just rambled on a long tangent there, but I kind of just wanted to tee up like how I first came to find you and why you stood out, not only to me, but to other people. So can you talk a little bit about when I'd like to understand the process of how you came to shoot that video. Like, how did you get the business in the first place? I mean, you and I talked about it in the past, so I kind of understand, but just so everybody else kind of hears this. And what was when you were making the video, how were you thinking about that? I mean, it doesn't seem like you were influenced by anything. I could be wrong, but I'd like to hear your take on that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's the noun space. I think some other channels, Never Too Small in Australia, they do, I guess, but theirs is more about the homeowners living in the space and how they utilize the space. Mm-hmm. So I guess my references were always different. And then I found art in May, and his stuff like influenced me a ton as well. And I guess I just never watched any like EDM roller coasters.
Yeah.
So
they have their place. It's not that they're bad. It's just they have their place for certain types of properties. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't really watch that many, and I don't know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my influence. So I was not so influenced by those. But yeah, in LA it's super trendy to do those as well. But I guess for some reason when I started out, when I first started out, I did I think 5 or 6 shoots for my portfolio for free, and the houses I selected were the video that you found, which was the Zoe Deschanel's house here.
Yeah.
And yeah, hers, I really liked the interior design on her house. So I wanted to shoot it. And then I found a bunch of like Quincy Jones mid-century house and a few other mid-centuries. I don't know why I'm like so drawn to mid-centuries, but
a lot of people are.
I didn't really reach out to any like modern houses for some reason. I don't know. So like really early on, I kind of like got into this bucket here of those either older homes or realtors who really care about how it's shot and are more into design and stuff. So it was kind of a win-win because I'm into those type of houses more, and then those realtors really like my style. So yeah, I guess I kind of started in a niche way, and that's kind of how my name or Instagram work got around, because like-minded realtors started liking my work and wanting me to photograph like their craftsmen or Tudor or mid-century houses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think your work speaks for itself, but I think you have a marketing background. So I think you kind of hit the ground running with that. Like the minute you had that video, you were already pushing it and marketing it. I'm in the middle of reading this book that Brian Berkowitz recommended to me, Book Yourself Solid by Michael Port. Yeah, Michael Port. And one of the first thing that's noteworthy that he says in the book is marketing isn't what gets you clients. It's what you do when somebody becomes aware of you that books you. So with that said, like I said, you kind of hit the ground running with marketing. Like you started off with your own unique style that obviously you had a little bit of influence. But you took that and you used Instagram. I'm not sure how much you leveraged YouTube. I know that you had originally posted that video on YouTube. But I'm not sure what, if anything, that did for you. But I know that with with Instagram, you were, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while, so I'm just trying to remember what you were doing. But you were, tagging realtors. You were really leveraging that content that you made, right? Is that kind of how it all got started for you?
Yeah, pretty much. And then also, like early on, when I post a video, I would share it on the Facebook groups, and also I shared it a lot on Reddit, and I've actually had some clients find me from Reddit.
That's really, really interesting. I've literally never heard anybody, I think except for Mike Kelly, talk about Reddit. So can you talk about that a little bit? Everybody's going to be taking notes right now, so careful what you say.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to remember which groups I posted in some photography groups, and I think I might have posted in the LA group, which is really big. And yeah, like some realtors have found me from it. So I mean, it depends where you guys are, but try to find your city's groups and post it there. I guess I could even go harder on the Facebook groups and post locally. Like maybe there's a general LA Facebook group and just posting it there. And the reason that I like posted it, well, when I posted on Reddit, I kind of framed it as like, oh, here's a look inside a celebrity's house. And I think that might have been like the Zooey Deschanel's house or something. And a lot of these people like don't have access to these houses. So it's a kind of a interesting thing to them. Like, oh, I wonder like what the inside of this celebrity's house looks like. So I think I didn't like spam post everything. It was more on what would I think the community would find interesting, or like what the average person wouldn't have access to. And I think that resonated with people because they can see the interior design, they can see the space, they know the actress. So those did well. Yeah. And then with the DM function, they reached out to me, and we did some shoots, like the realtor shoot, and even some interior designers, now that I think of it, found me from there. Yeah.
That's really impressive, especially for your first official shoot. Since then, has the majority of your work been through these realtors who are listing these homes? I like you just mentioned, you had some designers, but like, what's your split with like designers versus realtors at this point? Do you know? If you had to guess.
Yeah, it's a lot of realtors, just because it's so often that they list a house compared to like a project's being. I would say it might be even like 80 or 90% to 10 to 12%.
Got it.
So it's primarily on the real estate ones, but the ones I did for interiors was really cool. Like I did the Box headquarters here, and then also the Nike headquarters here. So
how did you I need to ask about that. Did they reach out to you? How did you land those?
For the Fox headquarters one, she just reached out. Oh, actually it's from the same source. So one of the houses I did, who's his name? I don't remember. One of the celebrity houses here. I lose track because like I kind of know them, but I don't really follow these celebrities. It was like a 6,000 square foot, really modern, like all wood house, and it's by this famous architect called Barbara Bester. And I shot that, and I think I tagged her, and she shared it. And the Vox interior designer's husband follows that architect and saw my photos from that architect sharing my photo because I tagged the architect just by that. So and then that's how I got that one. And then for the Nike headquarters, Barbara does a ton of buildings here, like renovating some old homes, but then also does these huge projects. I think she's won like a ton of awards. She is always like top architecture firms in LA. So she found me from that, and then I do video as well. So sometimes her firm would hire me, like, she wants to do a video showing this window that's opening, and it's a unique video, obviously, or these doors that twist or something. So she would hire me for projects like that. And then the Nike one, I've shot for her like 3 times, and then the Nike one, they kind of just asked me. But yeah, it's interesting that a lot of like these all stem from the real estate, and Yeah, it's a good way to get into interiors or architecture. Maybe if you guys shot for um the home that you shot for are designed by a famous architect or a famous interior designer, and getting their attention that way because they see their work and your pictures or video and they're like, oh, maybe they feel like you capture the space really well, and that's an easy way to get into that because you've already kind of shot their projects. Yeah.
So
and also you can also and a lot of these these homes, for some reason, maybe they were done so quickly that they never got a professional photographer. So there are a few times that I shot these homes and the architects or interior designers were like, oh, actually we never got these professionally shot, and they bought the license from me.
Nice. I'm glad to hear you sold the license. So I'm going to talk about, I'm going to ask 2 more questions and then we're going to open it up to have people come up, and we're going to stop in 34 minutes. So just for the sake of time. So first question is, you don't have to go into specifics, but let me ask this question in a tactful way. I don't need you to tell us how much you charge, but let's just talk about pricing in general. Like, how did you discover the appropriate way to charge? And do you think at this time you're underpricing yourself or overpricing yourself? Or do you think you're just right? Just talk about that in general terms.
Yeah, that's a really good question because I've always been trying to figure out that. Like, I think early on I was going on just trying to find just doing market research to find, how much other people charge. So I think maybe half of the sites in LA show their rates, but a lot of those were like not my style. So I'm like, how much does it translate? But then the photographers that actually shoot more similar style to me, maybe more interior style, like don't show their rates. So I even was asking, or sometimes in the Facebook group chats, sometimes I'm like, oh, how do you guys know your rates? And they have like complex ways, like, oh, you have to join the newsletter and then they have discount. I'm like, I don't want to join some newsletters to find out someone's rates. Yeah. So I think a portion was even the 50% that did put their rates. I kind of based it on that. So I did that. And then also the thing that I took into consideration early on is that I still work full time. So like I had a rate that I feel like because my schedule is so inflexible that you have to sacrifice a bit. And my current thought was like, maybe I would sacrifice on price, not in an extreme way, because I'm still like competitive to other people in LA. But I think if I charge like on the higher tier, that okay, well, if Lauren's only available on weekends, then there's so many more options. So I think one day, if I quit my full time, I would able to, charge what I actually want to charge, and then have such a more flexible schedule that it makes sense because, you're charging a higher rate, you're delivering this product, and you have the flexibility that people want. I think it would make sense. But yeah, currently I'm just so inflexible because I want something ASAP. I'm like, I really can't. You have to wait until the weekend. So yeah, I just had to sacrifice a bit.
Do you find that it's getting close to the point where they are willing, like, what's your sense on how frustrating that is for them? Or are they okay with it because they want to work with you?
Yeah, it's been such a journey because at the beginning I was able to do shoots at 4 p.m. because sunset, sunset was later, and I would, make up for that time, like afterward, like at night or something. But with the sunset getting earlier, I was able to shoot nearly every day, and someone would book me at like 4 p.m. to do a shoot. But it was, sometimes now with the sunset being earlier, I just couldn't do that. And then so now I'm like, well, in the past month I was trialing, okay, let's do 8 a.m. and see how many realtors would be open for that. And a lot of them dropped off. So, and then the people who like stayed on were either like people who woke up super early and it's like, okay, yeah, like 8 a.m. makes sense. Or, and at first I sometimes like don't tell realtors about my schedule because, if it's like the first shoot, you don't want to like, like throw them, because when they hire you from the beginning, they want to test you to be a long-time photographer. They don't want to keep trialing with people. It's stressful. So they want to, see how the fit's good. And if the first shoots work, they really want you to shoot for them a long time. But recently after the first shoot or something, I've just been upfront, like, okay, this is my schedule. And I think for some of the realtors I've shot for since the beginning, they understand it. And maybe their staging is, they plan everything kind of around it, which I'm like so surprised that they're gonna do so much for me. So yeah, some just ask me for the weekends now. So I guess they plan their houses around, and I deliver between 1 to 2 days, whereas I think like some LA photographers actually deliver longer than that. I just need to deliver like 1 to 2 days because of all the Facebook groups and other people do that. But I think like my turnaround time is faster than some photographers here. So but in terms of your question, I feel like you think I go hard on marketing, but I think I'm only at like 20% of
20% what
I actually could potentially. I think I've only done 20% of what I actually could do with marketing. I haven't like gone all out to get like all the exposure that I could have if I were doing this full time, mostly because I know that I couldn't handle it. Like if I started doing how we talked about in the shifter, like reaching out and sending these cold emails. I think I sent some early on, and I haven't sent them like since I started.
Yeah.
So if I did that plus a stronger social strategy, I think I would be able to do it. But I'm just kind of holding off because I don't want to put in all this effort and then still be so inflexible. So I'm kind of just in this like limbo.
Well, I'm going to ask you one last question, and then we're going to let people come up. The way I'm going to let people come up, just so I can kind of control the time, I'm going to open up hand raising, and I'm going to let a couple people come up at a time. And so if you raise your hand and I don't let you up, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to manage time. So everybody just keep that in mind. So I'm going to open up hand raising now while I ask Lauren, or right after I ask Lauren this last question. And then you guys can come up and ask her any questions you have. And then we're going to wrap it up in about 30 minutes here. So
awesome.
Last question I have for you. So you are in LA, and probably 90% of the people listening aren't, and they're probably not going to be photographing any celebrity homes anytime soon. So let's just say you had to, and I'm going to use myself being just cause that's the only example I have. If you had to move to Southern Minnesota in the middle of the Midwest, where there's no celebrity homes anywhere except for Josh Charnett, and maybe a couple other celeb Prince, I guess, but he's no longer with us. But there's no real celebrities here. How would you get started? Like, what would be your first thing? And I'm asking you this because I said toward the beginning, like one thing I admire about people like you is you kind of have a higher risk tolerance, and you see something and you just find your way to break into it. And I think you've done a good job with that where you're at. But I will say you also have an advantage over a lot of people. One, because of your motivation, but two, because of your location. I mean, you have access to celebrities' homes. Most people don't. So what would you do if you had to start off somewhere in the middle of America or in the middle of Canada or anywhere else in the world? If you had to start over, what would you do? I'm going to go ahead and open up questions, and keep in mind that this is recording. So if you don't want to be recorded, then don't come up.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Would you say that there's a lot of variety of houses, or not so much?
Well, where I'm at, no. That's why. So like I have to market myself probably an hour and a half away from me in Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's a major metro. There's a lot of higher end homes, multi-million-dollar homes, a lot of modern architecture. That's kind of where I'm putting most of my energy. Where I'm at, no. I mean, in the real estate world, when I was primarily shooting real estate, 90% of the homes down here were split level homes built in like 1992. And they all looked exactly the same. And then you'd have the occasional cookie cutter McMansion It just not much. I've probably photographed 3 architecturally designed homes in the last 11 years in my city alone. So there's not much. And then the interior design here, hopefully none of them are listening. It's not very forward thing. It's very traditional Midwest interior design. Like it's like, it's, the kind of stuff you'd find in the back of TJ Maxx or, Hobby Lobby, a lot of those generic signs. I don't know. So hopefully that answers the question. Like, let's say you go into a market like that and the nearest market to you where there's anything noteworthy worth photographing is about an hour from you. How would you get started? Like, what would be your first thing? And then again, I'm going to open up people to come on up.
Yeah, I think even though like most of the houses kind of, you were saying, look really similar, I would try to find some that has something unique about them. Maybe it's like an older house and they have like some original details there or something that sets it apart. I think even just finding like the nicest 1% of houses and just shooting that for your portfolio, I think makes a big difference. And then for me, when I started my style, I always shot it like lights off. And I think that kind of made me
stand out,
get distinguished between other photographers, because like I think only a small handful, or maybe 5 or something, compared to LA is so big, shoot this style. And I think even if the houses are the same, you can shoot it differently. And that's kind of like what I set myself apart, because if I shot exactly the same as everyone, like lights on with a ton of flash, I think my work might get lost here, because a lot of other people shoot like that. So I think I would say shoot a different style. Also, I shoot a bunch of like vertical pictures or more interior photos just for myself, and I just send it to the realtor like, oh, here you go. And a lot of them end up using like some of the horizontal like wide angles for MLS and then the vertical ones for Instagram, and they would post those photos. So I think I would say shoot something. Well, I don't know in the Midwest how many of the realtors use Instagram, but it's eye-catching if you shoot something more interior. Sometimes I see a lot of homes on the Facebook groups. I'm like, if you did like a vertical angle this way, like it could look homey in a nice way.
Yeah.
So I would say to do that, like select the interesting homes with the unique details and then shoot it differently and deliver differently.
I think that's all good advice. That's pretty much what I would tell people to do as well. I mean, I think a lot of the advice I hear people giving when they ask that kind of question is shoot more, shoot extra. I've heard like Rich Baum say it a lot. I've heard a lot of people say it a lot. And yeah, I think that's good advice. And I think that's all you really can do. I mean, if you're limited by your subject, then all you can really do is try to be more artful, be more creative with what you have, and just make the most of it.
Yeah, just stand out a bit. Exactly.
All right. So nobody is coming up just yet. I think we have one person raising their hand. Here. Oh, 2 people actually. We have Allie and Cheyenne coming up. Hey, Cheyenne, how's it going? Hey, Allie.
Hi. Hey, y'all. What's up?
Hey.
Not a lot. So let's start with you, Cheyenne. Do you have any questions or comments for Lauren?
Yeah.
First of all, sorry, Cheyenne. Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to make sure you heard that it's being recorded and you're okay with that.
Yeah, totally cool.
Cool.
I am a full-time real estate photographer in and around the Atlanta, Georgia area. I've been shooting real estate full-time for about a year now. And my question is, especially towards Lauren, as a young woman, how have you put yourself in a position to market yourself to these luxury agents? And what do you feel like they're looking for that is, I guess, different or unique? Here we have somewhat of a luxury market and celebrity homes and stuff. And I actually just reached out to a couple of realtors about shooting the Rocks house that's over here. It's gorgeous.
Oh.
And of course, they told me, we're happy with our providers right now. But what do you think would be something unique that would set you apart when you're doing those cold emails and trying to get those luxury clients?
Yeah, for when I first started out with the cold emails, I don't know if you guys all do this, but I did kind of like a photo collage of some of the homes I I shot here for my portfolio. Like, I just selected like one from each project, and then under it I put the architect name or the the real estate company. So like early on, for my portfolio I shot for um some of the big companies here, and I think it caught their eye. Like, oh, even though they didn't know that I didn't get paid for it, like, oh, she shot for the agency, or she shot for Sotheby's or something, and it like caught their eye. I'm not going into detail about my shoots, it's just that. So I think, and then me listing like, oh, I've shot for these agents, but no one really questions like, oh, who do you work with or something, or even if they did, like, oh, this agent. But I think kind of like name dropping a bit helped a bit. And then some of the houses, because these agents pretty much know, like, keep track of all the houses that come up. So if they say, oh, Lauren shot this house, like they know that house. So I'd say doing that. And then also, when I first started out, I followed like so many realtors on Instagram, maybe like too many, around maybe 1,500, or actually, sorry, maybe less, like a few hundred. And I was posting daily, and a bunch of those realtors followed me back. And I didn't really engage with them that much, or maybe here and there I would like respond to a story, but like not so much, or a comment if I really like it. And some of the realtors that followed me back like months ago finally hired me like last month. So it's like really a long game, but because they followed me back then, and I've over the months shot for so many people, they like over time actually got excited to work with me. Sorry, does that answer your question?
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, do you market yourself like on Google and on your website and stuff? Do you market yourself specifically like just luxury interiors and stuff like that? Because I'm part of a small team that we do, the bulk of our business is bread and butter homes. And we have no intention of pivoting away from that, but I just want to start picking up some more luxury clients. And I'm wondering if you think that maybe, it would be useful to have a specific luxury site.
I would say because you're bread and butter clients, I mean, you probably get them mostly like from word of mouth at this point, right?
Yeah, we have a pretty strong referral base.
Yeah, so these clients probably won't even be looking at your portfolio or site that much, because you already have that working relationship. So I'd say for the homes I shoot, like I shoot a lot of boring homes as well, like a lot, but I don't post any of them. I only share like probably 10 to 20% of the homes I shoot, and most of the homes are like, well, they have nice staging and stuff, but the home itself isn't interesting. So I'd say, because you already have this bread and butter clients, maybe you can like only post if you really want to get into a luxury market, just post the homes that you see yourself shooting like in the future. So I wouldn't even post that much like bread and butter photos on your social media or portfolio, because you already have those clients. And if you want to get out of it, I would say you can even shoot some of the homes that you want for your portfolio for free, and then target that more. But yeah, it's just more exciting to shoot these homes. But other than that, there's not that much more. In fact, some of the realtors could be pickier, so that's also something to be aware of. It's not like just amazing. It's like these owners are pickier because the celebrities are there and they want it a certain way because of their branding. So sometimes the bread and butter homes are like pretty chill to shoot, honestly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I
don't want to take up much more of your time and let Allie speak, but I wanted to ask you, if you didn't mind answering, about how much free work did you do before you really started to gain some traction in that space?
I did around 6 free shoots or so. And yeah, both of them I did photo and video. And I might even do some more now. I think it's like a continuous thing because you're always trying to have something new. Like I'm so into this like mid-century or realtors, like, oh, maybe, a lot of these homes, it doesn't translate to like what Jordan's doing with the new architects and new builders. It doesn't translate because these homes are so old. Granted, like some firms could renovate them a bit, but for the next step, I want to shoot more, modern homes because I don't really have that in my portfolio. So I think that's kind of what I need to get into the new space. So I'd say it's like a constant thing. I think if I think for me, I'd probably do something free maybe once every, like, I don't know, 8 months or something. I mean, obviously I just started, but like if I, in the years coming, maybe like 6 to 8 months doing something for free that I feel like I just don't have in my portfolio and I want the time to try it, or even be more experimental, because these videos, it's not for the realtor, it's like for me, and I might try and might have the time to do more time lapses or something. I don't know who here shoots video, but yeah, they're just more fun to do and test out things.
Yeah, I think that I would second all that, everything you just said. I would almost encourage you to, like, maybe, because I think you have such a solid portfolio, and this goes for everybody. Like, if you have the portfolio of work that proves that what you do is good, maybe instead of offering the whole thing for free, offer just like a portion of it. Like maybe you'll include a free time lapse in the video, or, maybe you'll throw the photos in, or maybe you'll throw the video in, or something to that effect. But I think, to your point, I think one of the most important things is to shoot what you want to shoot. And also, if you don't have that stuff in your portfolio, like you were saying, Lauren, go shoot it anyway, figure out a way to get in. If it involves shooting free, then, that's what it's going to take. I just think just go into it with making sure the client has an understanding that this isn't, you don't shoot for free. This is just a project you happen to be shooting for free for your benefit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a really good point.
Make sure everybody, if you're not following Lauren already on this and on Instagram, make sure you're doing that. Cheyenne, did you have any other questions before we have Allie come up?
No, that's all. Thank you guys for your time.
Cool. Allie,
Thank you. Yeah, those are really good questions.
Are you cool with being recorded, Allie?
Totally.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming up.
Lauren, it's so great to meet you. Your work is amazing.
Thank you.
I'm a commercial interiors photographer, actually in the Atlanta, Georgia area too. So I guess the South is representing on this.
Yeah.
So my question to you was, you said this really quickly, but you said one of the things that you feel sets you apart is your editing is very fast. You turn things around rather quickly. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, so I'm not in the real estate space. I'm truly just in the commercial interior space. Can you explain more about your editing process and how you sort of have gotten your system down? Do you work with an editor? Do you send things out? Do you do it all yourself? Or kind of just, could you explain a little bit more about it?
Yeah. That's a good question. I'd say, because early on when I first started, I think the Facebook groups kind of influenced me a lot to send to editors, because I feel like a lot of people do that. But I'd say I don't know. Working with editors, it's kind of difficult because I have my specific style and all of them edit the same way, like super white ceilings, and I only outsource the ones that I'm like honestly a bit lazy. Like if I have to do window pulls and stuff, I'm not bothered. So I outsource some of those, but I don't know. I spend even more time sometimes just to match it to my style, and these editors don't know anything about style. I mean, they edit all the same, and so I think moving forward, I'll be just edit the window pull, and I'll just do the coloring myself. Because when I first started out, my friend introduced me to use Lightroom and Fuse. I know a lot of people here probably want to to like edit all themselves, but for some reason I like get good, like the results out of it like are fine. I actually get people like asking me like constantly like how do you edit like this, like, and they're like surprised that I just use Infuse. But I think I just come from a background of color grading in a way, because when I was shooting fashion, like they're so specific on grading. So I feel like I'm able to just grade any sort of picture and like have it turn out fine. So I'd say that helped a lot. And then I just kind of like batch edit, because for these photos, I like when I send it to the realtor, I just edit them really quickly, and then but I know which ones I want for myself. I'm kind of selfish in that way, and I would spend more time on the ones that I post on my Instagram. So I mean, as long as like, you know, they like the product, it's fine. But I would spend, like, when I tell you that I deliver between 1 to 2 days, the ones I post on my Instagram, I would spend more time on, and I just try to meet that deadline for them. And when I shoot for interiors, I definitely spend a bit longer. But yeah, sorry, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. That's interesting to hear. I definitely, yes, I do the same thing. So the ones that are, that are going to be portfolio pieces, those are going to me, a lot of times I'll outsource things that I know I don't want to do, where I get lazy at, like you said, the polls. Okay, I'm going to sound like an idiot, but what is Infuse? What is that?
Yeah, it's pretty much like HDR, but people told me early on it's a bit better, and I just kind of did that. And then I think I did compare the results a bit more, and it was a bit better. Like it's more, the tones are nicer, and I'm able to grade the photos a bit better.
Got it. Is that something in Lightroom? Is that something that is a Lightroom plugin?
Yeah, it's a plugin. I think the website's super basic.
Yeah, just search LR Infuse, ENFUSE. It's a very underestimated program. And to Lauren's point, like I actually do a lot of editing. I'll do like maybe some preliminary editing in Infuse, and then I'll do my masking and whatnot in Photoshop. And I know there's people in the audience who do like all their commercial architecture is, I should say commercial real estate is done in Infuse. Commercial architecture, obviously, you want to be able to do masking and whatnot, but Infuse gives you a great initial result to start with.
Fascinating. Learn something new every day. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Hey, Ray, how's it going? Thanks for coming up. Are you okay with being recorded?
Hey, I am, yes.
Cool.
I'm Ray. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I recently started doing interiors and architect. Also, when COVID hit, just because it was like the only thing that you could do work-wise. So I am learning. Yeah, I'm learning so much. I just spent hours on YouTube talking or learning about window pulls, HDR, all of that. But I love the natural light, and I'm just starting to introduce like flash, and I've done some HDR also, but I don't love how HDR looks with window pulls like you're talking about. And I was just curious, I just followed you on Instagram and love your work.
Oh, thanks.
I was just curious, like the balance between natural light and then flash lighting, off camera, on camera, kind of how you learned that in your process with seeing when you need that, when you need window pulls, all of that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually never use flash. I think only once, maybe like 4 months ago, I had to use it because one of the realtors like just don't want the lights on, and the bathroom was like super dark, so I had to flash it. But like, yeah, people are surprised. I get so many DMs that people are like, "You really don't use flash?" Like people are so surprised by it, but I just do really long exposures. Like a lot of the realtors get really scared because it like looks so dark, but then they're like so shocked by the results. So yeah, I don't use any flash. And for the window pulls, I either go by, is there a nice view or not? If there isn't a nice view, like I'm not bothered. It doesn't make sense if it's like, if the view isn't even good, you rather just want the feel of the room. But so I only do window views if there's a nice view and I know the realtor is selling the house based on the view of that specific room. So yeah, it's, I mean, pretty easy to gauge like when to do window pulls in terms of they're like, oh, look at this view, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna definitely have to do window pulls from this room because they're highlighting it so much. Or sometimes if they're like, you can see the pool from the living room, it makes sense to show that. But for the most part, I don't, some houses I don't even do any window pulls because maybe it's like a condo and the view is kind of ugly. So yeah, I would just base it on that.
Yeah, can I just chime in on that really quick? That's a good point. And one thing I wish somebody would have told me early on is, instead of defaulting to any methods, like know what methods you have available to you, but start with just taking a single exposure and ask yourself what don't I like about this, and supplement with flash if needed. Ask yourself if you need to see the view. Like, just try not to do anything by default. And I think you'll serve yourself well doing that. Just take a single exposure, ask yourself what you don't like, what needs to change about it, and then use any tools you learn about, doing that.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I feel like so many tutorials are teaching the same thing. Like, you have to flash this, and then you have to pull this, and then your photos end up the same as other people because they're also watching these tutorials. And I actually never really watched these tutorials starting out, so maybe that's why it just didn't even occur to me to use flash. Plus, I'm like, well, this just adds to the time I'm spending on site, because if I did the 3 layers, and it has the different exposures, I can sort out the tones, I can sort out myself for the layers. But I think it gets, it's interesting now because you're starting now to find your own style, because once you get down a certain style, it's harder to change because realtors are expecting a certain style. Like, if maybe in a few months you're like, actually, I'll ditch the flash, and then like maybe the photos look different. So yeah, I'd say like, I don't even think flash is that useful, but I know like so many real estate photographers are just used to shooting it. And then I also shoot it all lights off, like everything.
So, yeah, which all the realtors always turn all the lights on, and I'm like, wait a second.
So Shelby just popped up on the stage. I know we got a hard stop in a few minutes here. So Shelby, how's it going? Good to see you come up here. Are you cool with being recorded?
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me.
And sorry to interrupt, Shelby. We'll try to make it really quick, just so we can get Lauren her time back.
Yeah, of course. My question is really quick. I just moved to the LA area. I'm about 30 minutes north of LA, so not too far away, in like the Calabasas area. And I'm just getting started in interiors. I've been doing photography for a really long time, mostly in the commercial space, but I'm trying to build my portfolio in interiors and mostly the high-end design. What is your advice for someone just getting started, trying to find like that portfolio work that I could post on my website and Instagram when I don't have like a lot of contacts in the area?
Yeah, when I started out, I didn't know like anyone either. I basically just went on Zillow and then sorted through like a ton of currently listed properties and contacted a lot. Didn't respond because they already have photos from the listing. But I contacted a ton to shoot it. I think I was mentioning, maybe they can use the photos for their social media, or if that house, you don't do videos. But I was just trying to offer something different to maybe make it more enticing for them. But yeah, I would just straight up, because it's so easy to contact people because agents have their emails everywhere. It's not like some other industries where they hide it. So I'd say, like really look for the houses that you are so excited to shoot, because the ones that I find, I'm like, I can't wait to shoot these houses. And then see who responds. Like, I'd say maybe just send a few, like every few days, just to test it out, because you don't want to have a bunch of people suddenly say yes. And also one of the things I did was I went through my hard drives, and then found maybe like hotels that I shot that I just stayed in, and like, I like the living room, and I shot it, because I mean, you've been shooting for so many years, so you probably have traveled and have like hotels or random things in your hard drive. So I like went back and I re-edited a bunch of these pictures to match my current style. So I had some sort of portfolio based on like previously with travel. I think I even like went around LA, like, because it was specifically like during the beginning of COVID. So I shot a bunch of like hotel lobbies, or I went to like Pally House, and I just shot a ton of them.
Okay.
Like one exposure, but just I think I had around like 20 to 30 pictures just from that that I was able to like show something for.
That's a great idea. And all the hotels were cool with you coming in and doing that you didn't get any pushback from them?
I just like it was so like low key. I kind of like pretended to be a tourist in some ways. Like I didn't have a tripod. I just shot a single exposure.
Threw your Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit of sunscreen.
Yeah. Like I was super low key, or I sometimes like, oh, like, can I take pictures of restaurant? Because everything like just wasn't open, so I was like kind of lucky in that way. But yeah, some of the pictures like surprisingly are still on my portfolio, and no one knows I just like went in as like a tourist and just took a single shot.
Yeah, no, that's a really creative idea. I'll have to try that. Thank you so much. If you ever need a second shooter, or if you want to meet up for coffee, I would love to do that sometime.
Yeah, I'm so keen to meet up. I actually like don't really know any photographers here, so that'd be exciting.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks so much.
And thanks everybody for chiming in and visiting. I think this was, at least as far as the rooms and the architecture and interiors photography club, this had the most. I think we got up to 80 at one point. So
this is awesome.
Yeah, people were excited to hear from you, and thanks for taking your time. I just thought it was time somebody interviewed you for a change, and you know, it was good hearing your story. I think a lot of people were interested, and I think if everybody isn't following Lauren on Instagram, be sure to do so. You can click on her photo here, go to view full profile, and you'll see her Instagram handle there. You can click on that and follow her, and then also you can follow Shifter Community on. I think the link is in your bio, if I'm not mistaken. Shifter.com.
Thank you so much for this. I really liked your questions and your perspective, and I really liked it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks for chiming in. I'm going to give Lauren this recording. Maybe she'll do something with it later that you guys can go back and listen to it. But yeah, that's all I have for now. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.